I feel like my left side is better.
Yeah?
Just clap again.
I don't really give a shit.
I don't really gotta say shit. Look around, you really know who made this. That's me going Neo on the Matrix. Black shades for the haters, they don't say shit. Ooh.
What's up, bro?
What's up, dude?
Long fucking time.
It's been a while. It's been 4 whole days.
4 whole days, man. That's a long one. Dude,
Yeah.
I'm so glad we're finally doing this.
Honestly.
It's been, what, 4 or 5 months since we started talking about this shit.
Yeah.
Hour-long conversations over the phone. Honestly, I feel like we've covered most of what we wanted to talk about today.
Most definitely.
On all of it.
We're just gonna have to let it fly because we've definitely covered it either on the phone or in person.
Yeah. I mean, and it's sick, right? I think the reason why we started talking about this was ever since we first met, every time we speak, it'd always be like good conversations, all contextual to the music scene right now.
Absolutely.
And not just that, like life, everything, you know, just good fucking conversations.
Exactly. Like the first time we met, I think we spoke for like 3.5, 4 hours.
Yeah.
At Candies.
Yeah.
And some other places.
Yeah. Actually, on that, I think we need to shout this guy out. The guy that introduced us.
Oh yeah.
Our man. Rohan Alex.
Shout out Rohan Alex. My man. Bandra boy.
Bandra boy, man. Yeah, so I think he connected us. I think it's been a year to the date since we met. And holy shit, has it been a fucking journey for you, man. Like, let's just get into it. Flash warning. Everybody knows you through Matt Gloss, right? And I think the perception around that is maybe not ideal, or at least not what you want people to perceive you as.
It's cool. So. It's cool. It's a bit unifaceted. It's like one-sided because the whole Matt Gloss angle is just like, oh my gosh, there's this car dude in a boiler suit. He clearly loves cars and motors and all of this shit, but that's about all that gets. So all of the car enthusiasts loved it. Because there's a bunch of references in there, feels authentic, like a bunch of video game references.
Yeah.
Gran Turismo, the Amalfi Coast and shit. Anyone who's played that game knows those lines, so for sure. But I know after it peaked in fame, I always felt like I had something more to offer and I didn't want people to only sort of know me for that. Yeah. And I think we'd met before
it came out.
Yeah, we did.
And so I think it's crazy because since we've known each other before Matt Gloss, I've actually heard your music, and not just at any releases, but Alex was showing me videos of you guys from back in college where you're just playing the guitar and rapping, and I swear to God, the second I saw that, I was like, fuck, this dude has it. He knows what he's doing. And it's kind of funny because Matt Gloss, although it blew up, it didn't capture you as an artist as a whole. And I think this new project that's probably out now while you're listening, you've really pushed it to the next level.
It's a step further in showing people what I can actually put into an album and what I can offer musically, because for sure, that was a hip-hop banger, but I think the videos you saw were of like, again, shout out to Rohan and Alex and Ramya and all of my classmates. They really helped me out of my shell initially, because it was a bunch of those after parties I would just play the guitar and rap and sing at.
Frank Ocean, Dominic Fike kind of vibe.
For sure, those were covers, bro, back then. They were like I would like sing X, I would sing Frank. I would play the guitar and rap and sing Biking.
And it's so clear to see those influences of yours in this project especially, because I know like thematically it's totally different from what you've done before.
For sure.
The album as such there's no specific theme to it, right? Because having listened to it a number of times, we've got a lot of different instrumentals, types of beats that you're using. Even your vocals, like your trills, everything, you're really training yourself to not just be a rapper. And, you know, that's what Drake does, right? And it's just banging music. As long as you can have both of those elements in it, shows you versatility. More people are going to be invested in you as an artist because you can you don't have just a range of different sounds, but
it's a bunch of multifaceted musical offerings, for sure. Because the thing is, I don't know, like with this project, like you said, it isn't wholly focused on one theme. I just wanted it to be authentic. So the way I formulated it was I just picked from the demos that I thought had the most potential. And I developed those to sort of sit together in a soundscape. And I think they match now. And like you said, it's similar to guys like Drake in a sense, because he's catering to a bunch of different audiences, and that's admirable. And it's dope because he does it well. And it's tasteful, and that's what I've been going for. Like,
and it isn't just music, right? Sorry to cut you off, but it's also themes that you speak about, the more varying they are, the bigger of an audience that you can pull in. And people will relate to you more as an artist, they get more invested, and you have organic fans then at that point. You know you're going to have a consistent following project after project after project.
That's true.
And I'm sure that's what you're going for. But just taking a step back, before Flash Warning, what was your state of mind, you know? Because it's a big difference from what you've put out before.
Yeah.
So obviously it's been a shift in your state of mind.
Oh, most definitely. Like last year was, it was a challenging year, to say the least. There were a lot of things that I had to deal with throughout the year that were really difficult and time consuming, and it was the first time I was completely independent, living on my own in Bangalore, my own place. New girlfriend, it was just a lot going on.
Yeah.
And honestly, I spent a lot of the year in quite a dark place mentally. And I think that's why the whole monochrome, Flash Warning aesthetic works out, the grainy texture of it. That's why it feels authentic. The state of mind had changed completely. When I wrote Math Loss, it was the second day that it was the second session I had with my then and still producer, Aryaman.
Nice.
And on the second day, I wrote this song, put it out. I was like, dude, these beats are banging. So like the fact that the instrumentals were so hard just like inspired me to write the hardest shit I possibly could. And it happened like that. Yeah. And it was like a very spur of the moment, energetic thing. Whereas Flash Warning was more stretched out. I took my time with it. I was like, I want to put something out that isn't something that's so me that if people like it and I get listens, I'll know that they fuck with me and not just the music. With Math Loss, it was always like, oh man, it's a car thing, like it's a motoring thing, it's a bop, it's like a generic, not generic, it's not generic, but it's like a mainstream bop that a lot of people could just like dance to at a club. And I was like, that's awesome. And don't get me wrong, I was grateful for every listen, still am.
Yeah.
But in my mind, I was like, I want to release a project that's esoteric. I want to release a project that feels like me. Like, even if it's a little off to one direction, I'm okay with that, because then I'll know that the people who like it really fuck with it. So I think this is a statement of purpose, this album.
Nice.
Yeah.
And yeah, so you're saying that this project is you. I think we've had a conversation about this in the past, but as an artist, you're a conduit to your environment, right? Everything you experience comes out through your art. But there's always going to be a point where you have to compromise on that, right? So what's it been like tackling those two things? Because on one hand, you want to put out something that's authentically you, but there's a part of you, you know, there's always something in the back of your head that you need more streams, you need more gigs, and the only way to do that is to make something, not generic, but you need to water down your authenticity. So how did you like go about tackling that?
I know exactly what you mean. I know exactly what you mean, because even when I was writing this project, I formulated it in such a way, I picked the demos so that there would be balance. Like Tommy Vassetti, in my mind, I don't want to color the opinions of anyone who hears the project, and I'd love your take on this. But in my mind, Tommy Vassetti is the most esoteric of the bunch, because it's just different. It's just something, and that one felt super authentic to me. And I was like, bro, this one, structure-wise, arrangement-wise, I'm not going to compromise on anything. Fuck it, dude. I'll sing these bars in whatever way I feel is right. And that one felt the most esoteric, but Drill Season and Swishes felt like bops that people could actually like vibe to in a club, like, you know. So I felt like that balance was nice. And I did formulate it in that way, because I picked from a bunch of demos. So I felt like these would do well together.
Nice. It's so interesting just running through the entire project. Initially, you start with something that, to me, feels very X-ish in terms of melodies. And then you constantly progress. You're moving to more trap beats. And the end of the album, to my opinion, those two songs are the best ones on the project. Very Joey Badass vibes, really spitting bars, beautiful samples, lovely drums. How does one go about starting at, you know, a melodic kind of tune, you know, kind of slower paced, to moving to straight up bangers? Swishes is sick. And then you go down another avenue. It's it's so easy to see that you've got multiple facets, but why did you decide to like mix it all up, you know?
It's a good question. I don't know if it was, I don't know if that part of it was so intentional, because I love these different kinds of music, and I figured that my take on these varied genres would be interesting. Like even Drill Season is like my take on a drill beat, and it's not like some uber hard Pop Smoke
Yeah.
drill
yeah,
shit.
Yeah.
You can hear the influence to a certain degree if you really listen for it, but like most people I show that to are like, oh, it's low-key hype, you know?
Yeah.
It's like a melodic drill beat.
Low-key hype.
It's
definitely.
like, yeah, it's some melodic drill, and I was like, that's dope. And even with Swishes and with J Love Japan and like Do I Look Tribal, I was like, I love these different kinds of music, and I'd heard so many songs in the past, like the triple question mark song with
Yeah.
Joey Badass and X.
Yeah.
Right? That was some killer boom bap.
Infinity.
Yeah, Infinity
Yeah.
888,
Yeah.
right? And that's fucking hard. And I heard like Nux and his drill shit, and I'd heard a bunch of Frank's melodic, symphonic, beautiful music, and I think it figured into the way I wrote these.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like I tried to do a bunch of different styles so that everyone would know that I could.
Yeah.
It was more like I was inspired by them, by all of these guys that I was listening to, like so many different artists. I just mentioned a few.
Mm-hmm.
I was inspired by them, and then I would go and create an instrumental. This is all produced by me, this whole album. This didn't
Yeah.
involve any other producers. And I would spit bars on them. And because of the fact that I insisted on not pandering this time, I think
Yeah.
it felt a little bit more like me. And it shows,
Yeah.
because it's a bit...
So you mentioned a bunch of your influences, Nux, Frank Ocean, but these are more within the modern era. Growing up, what was the kind of stuff you listened to? Did your parents have music playing in the background? Are there things that you
Oh, for
grew up
sure.
with? And
Most
yeah, because it's
def-
super interesting to see that, and then the kind of music you make now.
Uh-huh.
There are obviously going to be, you know, tiny bits of influences over there. But
For sure.
growing up, what was your favorite kind of music to listen to?
Growing up, there's a bunch of different influences, because at home, my dad had a classic rock band that he was a part of, and they would practice in the attic, and I wasn't allowed up into the attic until after 9 p.m. because I just come in and fuck up everything while they were practicing. There were drum kits, like
Yeah.
guitars and everything. And my mom used to play bass in his band in the 80s, so I definitely had a musical upbringing, for sure. So there was a lot of rock growing up, a lot
Yeah.
of blues, some amount of jazz, and although that came into it like in a big way later on in my teens. But around 5th or 6th grade, I started hearing hip hop on my sister's desktop, like on her computer. She had a huge tube monitor,
Yeah.
and she would have like songs that she'd gotten off of LimeWire
LimeWire, hell yeah.
and all of this stuff. And like there would just be random, nothing would be in albums or something. It would just be random songs in a random order. So I would hear like 50 Cent, Candy Shop. I would hear like all these other random bangers.
Yeah.
I would hear Keen, I would hear Train, I would hear Jupiter.
Sick.
And I think that growing up at such a young age, before I even got to that, hearing the stuff on my sister's desktop, it was like all of this music going on in the house helped me understand the difference between a right note and a wrong note.
Yeah.
Like I didn't have to think about scales, I didn't have to think about melodies, it just was there.
You developed a year really
Yes.
young.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
didn't realize it was happening. Like,
Yeah.
When
Oh,
I was
yeah.
a teenager,
Super subconscious.
yeah, it's
You have
wild.
no idea. Yeah.
I was in church, and I would like be singing harmonies to the melody that the choir was singing, and my mom told me that they were harmonies. I didn't even know because I was 9.
Nice.
I was like 8. So I think it all just amalgamated, and I heard all this stuff on my sister's computer. I took a bunch of classes throughout school, like guitar classes, classical guitar, piano for a bunch of years. I did recorder, I did drums. I studied the bass for a little while, and it was all mad fun, but I only started getting interested in it like as a passion and something that I wanted to put hours and hours into when I was 14 with the guitar.
Nice. Yeah, growing up, you clearly had a lot of different genres and influences, and at 14, you decided that you actually want to do this.
Yeah.
Why did you gravitate to hip hop? Like, what about it appealed to you more than everything else?
It's interesting. It's interesting because, and this is part of the reason that I hadn't gotten into too much melodic stuff. I mean, I had too much like of this esoteric stuff that I really wanted to explore until this album. And the reason I was doing bars for so long is because that's the newest addition to my repertoire.
Yeah.
Right? The newest addition to my repertoire was learning to rap when I was like 19. That was the latest.
Yeah.
Like I'd been singing for ages. I'd been playing the guitar for ages. I'd been producing since I was about 16, 17.
Yeah.
So like getting into the bars was the newest thing, and I loved it. I was obsessed with it. I still am. And that like kicked off when I was 19. So I think after that happened, and to be honest, it did start with Frank Ocean first. I heard Biking at a party, at a house party.
First time we met, I remember you mentioned this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was telling you about
Biking.
it. Rohan
Yeah.
was there.
Yeah.
I heard All Right, Kendrick Lamar, and I heard Biking by Frank Ocean. I was like, this is just good music, man. I don't know what the genre is like,
Yeah.
but it's just great music. And I was immediately enraptured. And the day after XXX Tentacion died, right after he passed,
Yeah.
like the day after he passed, I heard Everybody Dies in Their Nightmares, and that actually brought me to tears. I was like, this is authentic art, like,
Yeah.
and I think that kicked off the whole hip hop journey.
Nice.
I would
Wild.
sing, I would cover a lot of those songs, and then eventually started writing my own. I would just be in an auto, writing bars
Notes app.
on my notes app.
Fuck yeah.
Always.
Wild.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, so you mentioned that you started, you decided that you want to do this at 14. And now you're 24. It's been 10 years. Talk to me about the experience, how it's been when you started and you didn't do anything. You're just starting to make beats, to putting out singles, to Matt Gloss, to this new project, all the gigs you've done, everything that you've learned during that time about the music scene and about being an artist. Because it's all a little crazy. Everybody looking from the outside, to be honest, it looks like a shit show, right? And it seems like nobody knows what they're doing, but
Yeah.
everybody really knows what they're doing.
Sort of. Yeah.
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 So how's that been?
So it's interesting because like when I was 14, I'd initially started playing guitar, and I was playing electric guitar, and I was playing my Fender, and I was like, dude, I want to be like John Mayer. I want to play solos. I want to give people chills like I hear chills when I listen to heavier things or whatever I was listening to at the time. And as it progressed, I realized that like my influences will sort of come together to make this unique sound. That's the mica sound, whatever that is, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I feel like that's still very much in development, and it always will be. It'll keep changing. But as the time progressed and I started producing, I began putting instrumentals on SoundCloud.
Yeah.
And when I was
I've heard
17,
them.
Yeah, you've heard the old ones?
Rohan sent me all of this.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he showed me
That
all
was
of it.
that was already when I was 19. I started
Oh,
when I
hey.
was like 16, 17, and those were super like basic for sure. And I thought back then my 16-year-old mind was like, yo, I'm gonna put up these instrumentals, I'm gonna be famous. Like so fast, it's only gonna take like a couple months. Not a chance.
Viral.
It takes years, dude. I've realized like
Yeah.
people have viral moments, but more often than not, leading up to those moments are years of like persistence and just improving your craft. And
It's the thing about luck too, right? Sometimes people just blow up because
that's true.
it's relevant in that moment. But I think for everyone, it takes a lot of hard work, even for
It
people
does.
that just randomly blow up.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I don't think, I mean, even for people that do like garner millions of streams and like maybe they've got 3 or 4 singles out, nobody knows about the aliases that have come before that and all the experiments and everything that's gone
That's
on
so
behind
true.
the scenes
Yeah.
for the last 5 years until they've really refined their shit and gotten their sound done.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Like I was talking to a friend yesterday, and he was telling me about how like Anderson Paak's like previous alias was like Breezy Lovejoy or something. That's what it was called apparently. And I was like, what? You don't know about any of this
Yeah.
stuff. All of a sudden, like from the outside, the perspective is like you just wake up one day and some dude is in the headlines or his song is in the top 100 or something, and you're like, oh wow, this shit bops. But you don't see any of the build up to that, and more like almost all the time it takes time. It takes a minute. Even Post Malone with that one song that made him super, White Iverson.
Yeah.
Made him super famous, right? It took ages to get that. He was living in someone's cupboard, bro.
Yeah.
So like,
it's crazy because he's got this one video of his, I think 2 years before he dropped White Iverson. It's of him on an acoustic guitar covering Don't Think Twice, It's Alright by Bob Dylan.
Yeah.
And you could tell from that second that he's got it. The
yeah,
guy just,
for sure.
He feels everything.
Yeah, for
That
sure.
was amazing.
And that's the indeterminate thing. You just know when people have it. Like
Yeah.
if they can play guitar or if they can do what they do musically and give you chills and it makes like a room of drunk people go silent.
Oh, hell yeah.
That's an achievement,
Yeah.
bro. And that's when I realized like I had something is when I was doing these after parties with Rohan and all of my friends in Bangalore. Shout out all my classmates from Christ-U. The best thing about that university, Neelaksh and the rest of them, like they would encourage me and everyone would just go quiet. And I don't think it's because they forced themselves to. I think it's because something something
Spoke
good
to
was
them.
happening. And it was like, that opened my eyes up to like help me build confidence. So the journey's been wild, and the last year and a half have shown me that the door's wide open for an English speaking R&B musician, producer, instrumentalist, rapper to come in and like destroy it. So I'm believing in that, and I'm shooting my best shots, you know.
It's super evident with the rise of like labels like 88 Rising.
Oh yeah.
you know that there is a gap in the market that needs to be filled. And I guess we're all just waiting for the day we have an Indian, South Asian equivalent of it, right?
Yeah.
So I think you're going to be in like the middle of that.
Oh yeah, bro, I would love that. That would be
Some
so
Rich
sick.
Brian thing.
Yeah. That would be so dope
Yeah.
to be part of something like that.
Yeah. And I think that's everybody's intention within the scene over here. Because we all see it. The only issue
There's
is...
well-informed people in this music
the
scene too. Like,
extremely smart,
no doubt.
extremely well-informed people. We both have had the pleasure of meeting a lot of these guys.
yeah.
To my mind, I feel like we're still really fragmented. And the second that all of these minds collectively put their heads together, right, we're just gonna blow the fuck up.
It's done.
Honestly, yeah, it's over. It's
India is
over.
like, I feel like it's up next. You know that feeling?
It's up next.
Yeah, that
but
up next
there's
feeling.
another aspect to India which is, like, let's be honest. I think both of us, all of us that are like, all of you that are watching it, we kind of live in an echo chamber.
True.
And
We do. It's a small community.
it's a small community. The thing is, everybody wants millions and millions and millions of streams, but do you feel like we're there with English rap now? Because you're looking at people like Seedhe Moth and AP Dillon and stuff, and they obviously are blowing up, but that's because they appeal to a larger crowd.
They appeal to a large crowd, and in the space that they're in, they're nailing it, bro.
Yeah, I mean,
like their
don't get
sound,
me wrong,
whatever
they make
sound
amazing music.
yeah, the
Like-
sound that they've built in the whatever sphere they're in socially is destroying, bro. Like for those people, it's a bop. Those people can listen to it any night of the week and just like lose
Hell,
their
I
shit.
can, man.
Yeah, for sure, bro. I listen to AP Dillon. I know the hook to Brown Monday. People probably don't know that shit. Not gonna say it,
everyone
but like,
knows that shit.
Yeah.
Just pop the fuck off.
Yeah. No, I meant they probably don't know that I know it because
Oh,
everyone's like,
yeah.
oh, coconut white boy, only can speak English. But anyway, more like a bounty bar. Anyways, I'm digressing, bro. So I'm saying that these people can kick off in the spheres that they're in. I feel like with English rap in India, it's getting to a point where there's like 3 or 4 dudes, 2 or 3 like guys who are killing it,
Yeah.
who are approaching the level that they can compete with dudes in the States.
Yeah.
And like in the UK as well. There's a good few people in the UK nailing it as well.
Oh.
So I think we're getting to that point, and I'm saying, like, honestly, I don't even know if I'm at the point where I could command the attention of like a huge, massive audience at a venue and like have a 1-hour set that's going to destroy it. Those are the prerequisites, bro.
Yeah.
That's real talk. Like, that's what it takes. Like,
You also need to have a catalog that can back that up.
absolutely.
I feel like...
And it takes years. It takes a
Yeah,
minute.
it takes years.
Yeah.
You, like, although it's been 10 of you delving into music, 10
Yeah.
years that you've been doing this, I still think there's a ways to go until you have a big enough catalog where you can, number one, pack the crowd, number two, no skips, 1-hour set.
Yeah.
Right? That takes time.
It does.
Yeah.
It does.
And yeah, so I mean, to your mind, you'd mentioned a couple of people that you feel are almost there. Anyone you'd like to talk about, shout out, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Who do you feel is there right now?
So, I feel like in Mumbai specifically, since we're here, someone that springs to mind who's like authentic and is doing English hip hop and killing it, like Ray Mullah. Shout out that dude. Shout out Ray Mullah. Like, good music, bro. Like, I heard his feature on the Charms album a while ago. This was a good while ago. I'm not sure what the song was called, but it was on that Charms album with like the pink album art with the snake and everything. And like, I was like, damn, bro, this guy can spit. That's hard.
Man,
and I hadn't heard something from Mumbai that was that convincing in English.
Nice.
And besides him, shout out Suraj, Hanuman kind.
Yeah.
That dude is destroying it, and I don't have to say shit about it because
Killing
everyone
it.
knows.
Absolutely killing
He
it.
just got a Netflix feature and stuff.
Loop Lopeta, man.
Yeah.
Mad one.
That's wild.
Yeah.
He's doing bits, bro, and he's such a good guy. And besides him, Tintin and I used to spend a lot of time at the same studio, and I've known him from college as well. And I think that guy has got like just mountains of potential.
Nice.
So yeah, let's see where that goes. I know he's in Goa at the moment. I'm not too sure whether a bunch of projects are coming. Yeah. But he's been making moves this last year too. So I think that there are like a good few guys, like a handful of dudes, and I consider myself part of that that group.
Rightly so.
Who could do some wild shit over the next couple of years. Like I said, Flash Warning to me is the biggest and realest step I've taken so far in my musical career to state why I'm here and like let people know what I'm about, you know, what I'm going to be doing.
Release. Share that shit.
Yeah.
Wild.
Did you say statement release? Yeah,
Why not?
for sure.
Yeah, so you've basically just been within this artist role throughout, right? Ever since your first job. But I know that you've started organizing gigs yourself, and I'm sure that's a trip. It's a totally different. It's just a different ball game, man.
Bro. It's a full situation.
It's a situation,
ridiculous.
yeah.
My Bangalore peeps know what I mean when I say it's a situation, bro. It's like, oh man, there's so many things to think about. To be honest, like I've organized one gig.
Yeah.
At Sanchez in
Yeah,
UB City.
UB City.
And that was a good vibe. It was a great gig. I co-organized with a friend of mine. And to be honest, leading up to it, there were so many things to think about that I barely practiced my set. I must have practiced it like once or twice. And I usually come to a gig after having gone through it a good few times, really feeling it, pretending there's an audience, like pretend mic, hand in the air and everything. But that time, like there was just so much to think about logistically. That I came to it with all of that in mind, and I was just walking around like an organizer. You know how they do at gigs? They're just talking to people, they're just making calls, just doing shit the whole time, saying hi to people in between, right? Letting everyone know they're a social butterfly for a little bit, going back to work, and then doing my set. But it was a good feeling, and I realized that there's bags in organizing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think this takes us to a whole different conversation about like monetization, right? Everybody knows that streaming is ass. Like, unless you're like a weekend and you get like 100, 200, 300 million views, that's the only time you're gonna see significant amount of money.
Yeah, and with the checks that guy is getting from where the real money comes from in music, he's looking at the streaming and he's like, yeah, cool, all right.
Yeah.
That's
Fuck
cool.
that, like passive income
It's not,
for guys like him.
It's just like new car money or what to him.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm sure he's making bags off the main revenue streams.
100%.
But yeah, streaming is a small part of it.
Yeah. So, yeah, I guess the natural next step is to just organize events and...
So, interesting you should say that because I'm actually handing off all of that responsibility. Like, I would like to be in the organizer's seat, but I have management now over the last few months.
Yeah, congrats,
man. Thank you.
Shout out, you know, like...
Shout out Farmhouse Music. Shout out Third Culture, Export Quality.
Sick.
My manager, Mo. Because these people just sort it out, bro. Like, I'm putting this album out with Third Culture, with Export Quality. And they've just been fantastic in every possible regard, like as people, as supporters, as organizers, people who are in charge of logistics with the release, all of the digital content. They've just done a fantastic job. And I've just started with Farmhouse as well. And I'm grateful because I did have a solid year, 8 months of doing everything on my own. I didn't even have my manager, Mo. So that was shocking. The amount of shit I had to think about that was outside of the music was unacceptable. So like even with the organizing, like I want to be in that seat where we get the money directly from the venue and then we decide how it's divvied up. And that's great. That's a good place to be. But I will still give most of the responsibility to my management because otherwise I will just not have time for music. I've realized that over the last few months.
And I mean, I feel like every artist needs to go what you went through. You were independent for a while. You were figuring everything out yourself. That gives you a different perspective compared to people that are signed right off the bat. You understand how the business works. So that gives you a lot more leverage when you are speaking to labels, right?
It does,
You have the upper hand over there. So that's amazing that you've done that because no one can fuck with you because you know how shit works.
I'm glad.
Yeah.
So the fact that I had to deal with all that and I had to do every step of it on my own, I had to send out the emails, I had to do the financial side of it, I had to send my bank details to someone, I had to make the invoices myself. The fact that I had to do all of that means that I understand the process, which means I'm not a numpty that a label can trick. You know?
If you're a new artist and you've just started making music, don't go looking for labels. This is just my opinion. Grind it out. Do shit yourself. Because when you do get to a point where you can get signed, you know exactly what it is they can offer you and the load, as you mentioned, the load that they can take off of your back.
Exactly.
And you just get to concentrate on the music and that's what it's all about.
Exactly. Because there's just so much shit in fine print on any contract that if you don't pay attention to it and you go into it all optimistic, like, oh my gosh, I finally have management, I'm so glad, and you think that this is the logical just next step to fame or whatever it is you're looking for, you could lose certain things in the process.
I mean, biggest one, creative control. The second someone else has a say in your project, you've already lost. So, to my mind, I think basically what you described was for a year, you weren't signed, you did everything yourself, you were taking care of everything back end, financials, all of this while you were juggling creating all your projects.
Yeah.
I feel like if you're a new artist, you really need to go through what he went through, because when you come to a point where you feel like you can be signed to a label, you need to know exactly what it is that they are going to offer you, because it all gets lost in the sauce. The intention is that you need all the time that you have just to make your music, and you can only do that if you know what they're going to support you with.
Exactly, yeah.
And I mean, the amount of fine-tune that is in these contracts is just ridiculous. You have no idea when you're going to get scammed. I think he does it, but everybody own your masters. Just own your fucking masters. That's it. You're set at that point.
Yeah, for sure. And I'll be completely honest with you, with the new project, I have signed for 50% ownership. It's because I saw the value in what they were offering. But the only reason, and before I signed with them, I'd already spoken to 4 other labels, 3 or 4 other labels.
Yep.
Okay, some level of discussion, and I got multiple offers as well. The reason I saw this deal as worthwhile is because I knew exactly what they were offering me, and I knew the difference. Yeah. I knew the difference between what they were going to give me and what I could do on my own, because I had done that. And to be honest, even a year ago, I saw the whole idea of freeing up all of your time so you can just be creative and make music as extravagant. I saw it as a bit self-indulgent, because I was like, man, everyone has to juggle a bunch of things. Why would it be different for a creative? But eventually I realized, let me just tell you this. It's a wonder that I was able to complete work on this project and delve into it with everything else going on, bro. Like, I don't think everyone would be able to do that. Like, it's a lot to juggle. Like, I was juggling a full relationship. I was juggling mixing podcasts. I was juggling teaching classes twice a week. With
gigs.
Yeah, I was working out and all of this other stuff, with also somehow managing to switch all of that off and be creative and go into a zone where I'm not thinking about anything else. Because it's in that place where you actually manage to dig something out of yourself that's worthwhile sharing with the world. So it's a wonder, and I'm absolutely grateful. And I'm grateful that happened. But the reason I know the difference between this deal that I've signed for the release of this album, which I'm so happy about, and that's filled me with assurance that it's going to do well, as opposed to just doing it on my own, is because I did spend that time grinding, writing out those invoices, on the phone with those organizers. And it was a pain in the ass, I'll be honest, because like an artist, now I understand, my point being, now that I've done that, I understand why it's so important to have your time to be creative. Because all of that stuff, right, talking to organizers and all of this stuff where I had to be the nice guy artist, which I am naturally, which I love. I love making friends. Really?
I'm just playing.
Which I love. And then like wearing this other hat of being this dude who has to like negotiate about money and be hardcore about this stuff and be confrontational to some degree. It was hard, bro.
It's the yin and the yang.
Yeah, it's the yin and the yang, and I'm glad I have that side, because it gives me objectivity when I think about management and all this stuff. But now I get why it's so important for an artist to free up that mental space and give that responsibility to someone else who can fully focus on that and not worry about the optics of like turning down a deal or some bullshit, you know?
I mean, the Indian English scene, I guess, is still pretty nascent, but what you've experienced, it kind of gives you an advantage if we're looking further down the line. If there comes a point where you want to start a label yourself, you know exactly what it is you want to do. And some of the most successful ones in the world, like look at Top Dog.
Yeah.
You know, these were started by musicians who not only understand the creative part of it, but the business aspect as well.
For sure.
That's something that I feel is in a bit of a ring fence over here. Because there are a lot of gatekeepers, but they aren't specifically musicians.
Yeah.
So it's a bit of a tricky one. Right?
Yeah, it's because if they're not musicians and they don't understand what we're trying to do, they may not have the same intentions.
Exactly.
And that's where it starts getting fucked up. Like, all of the management that I've enjoyed working with, and the people that I've intrinsically felt like, man, I'm comfortable working with these people. It's almost like family, because you're like giving them access to everything, bro. They can make or break your whole career. Like, even with when I was speaking to my first label, Rec, who did wonders for me and really helped me find direction and ascend a good few levels. right? Just coming into the game, like when I had absolutely nothing to my name, except a couple of demos and some instrumentals and beats mostly.
Yep.
Made me feel comfortable because they were musicians. Like the guy that signed me on the rec, he was a drummer, and he's a good friend to this day. And even with Farmhouse, like my friend Towers, who initiated the discussion with that label, is a rapper himself.
Nice.
And obviously he has other responsibilities that are kind of taking precedence at this point in time. But because of that fact, and because they grew up with a lot of the same intentions as me when it came to music, they just get it. Like there's a lot I don't have to explain, which is awesome.
Yeah.
And even with Third Culture, it's not necessarily that they have to be musicians themselves, but with Tej and everyone at Third Culture, right? They have such a good understanding of what a musician wants out of a project's release that like I don't have to explain to them because they've just worked with so many of them before.
What else?
So had you heard of me before Rohan said something?
No.
Had you seen like an Instagram story or something? Like what was the vibe?
No, I actually hadn't. The first time, so Rohan used to live in Bombay. I think he just moved out a while ago, but I used to hang with him pretty often. And this one night when we were hanging out, I had just started venturing into the music scene a little bit. So he told me about you. He was like, I have a friend from college. I think he's fucking sick. You need to check his stuff out. And then galleries open, videos after videos after videos. There was one of these videos where you were sitting on a skateboard and you were fucking playing the guitar. I don't know if you remember this even. This was years ago.
I don't remember this. I was on a skateboard.
I have no idea, man. You were in some apartment. Yeah.
Okay.
Just vibing, singing, playing your guitar.
Yeah.
And it was excellent. It was excellent. And this was before you had even dropped anything. And the first thing I said to him was, I can't wait for his first release. Yeah, my guy.
Yeah. Fuck yeah. That was a while ago.
That was a while ago. This was easily a year before I even met you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
he used to take videos and like put them on IGTV and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he put my
So
secret government name on those videos.
Come again?
Vidyasagar and everything. My secret government name.
Yeah. Ain't nobody know those government names.
Ain't nobody need to know about that, bro.
Yeah.
It's Bedford. And it is for generations, just in case anyone's wondering. But anyway, yeah.
So yeah, he basically gave me context about you, and he was super, like, the second he knew that you were going to come to Bombay, he gave me a ring and he was like, mate, you need to fucking meet him. You guys will hit it off. And that was fucking beautiful, man. Yeah. Like, that was sick.
He was so right.
It was so right. It felt so natural.
Yeah, 1 4-hour discussion later and we knew he was right,
This
basically.
is it. And it's crazy. We had that conversation like a year ago, and I think it clicked for the both of us at that point that we need to sit down and do this, which we're finally fucking doing. It's been like anywhere between 6 months to a year that we've started thinking about this shit.
This has taken a minute, bro.
Way too long.
Even after the specific plan began like 4.5 months ago to like have a podcast.
Yeah.
It really took a minute. Yeah.
Discussion.
A discussion.
A discussion.
We don't even know what it is.
Yeah.
Is it an interview, a discussion? We don't know.
Mr. Bedford.
Mr. Bedford,
Mr.
my man
Bedford,
knows the OG
yeah, Mr.
title.
Bedford.
For sure.
So wait, where does this come from?
So the name is an interesting one. So the name Bedford has been in my family for about 5 generations, if I'm not mistaken. My dad was telling me about it, and it's been on his side of the family for multiple generations. And my name on my passport, this is a huge secret, bro. I can't believe I'm saying this on camera.
Bleep the shit.
Keep it to yourself. Secrets and that is Ashir Maika Vidyasagar, okay? And Vidyasagar is my dad's middle name, and Bedford is his surname on his passport. But for multiple reasons, which I'm still not fully sure of, my sister and I, and my mom, and my dad, when my parents got married, took the surname Vidyasagar. And I think it has something to do with the fact that my granddad, when he stepped away from the rest of his family in an effort to marry the woman that he did marry and have my dad and his siblings with, he gave up the surname Bedford because I think the family was a bit reluctant for that marriage to happen. Okay. So there was some difficulty there. And he was like, you know what? You guys do whatever you want. I'm going to let go of the name if that's what you want me to do. You can do whatever you want. And I'm going to marry this woman. Because I'm in love, yeah. And he did that.
Man.
So
respect.
Yeah. And then my dad took the name back and now it's back on his passport. But I'm going to do it too. Because I love the name and I love that side of the family. It's very
Maika
musical.
Bedford.
Yeah.
It has a ring to it.
It has a ring to it. Yeah, for sure. And that side of the family's always been crazy fun to be around. Like both sides, obviously, but like musically, my granddad played the violin. He sight read Chopin and Mozart on his grand piano, and music was just a huge part of everything. Yeah, I think that's why it carried over to my dad and then me. Which is why, I'll be completely honest with you, the difference between the right note and the wrong note in a context has always been intrinsic to us, and I don't take it for granted. I only realized the value of that like over the last few years.
Music's in your DNA.
Yeah, it doesn't come easy to everyone. Yeah. So I was like, man, this is some cool shit.
Yeah, mad. And yeah, so I know that you're constantly in and out of Bombay. I grew up in Bangalore and I fucking love that city, but I think we can both agree that there's something different in the air over here.
Something about this place.
Something about this place. And every time I've met you over here, you always mention the fact that, yo, I need to move here at some point.
Did I say
What is the draw? What is the draw? And when are you fucking moving here?
So it's a good question. I've known for a while now that if I move within India, from Bangalore, it will either be to Bombay or Pondicherry. It's nowhere else it's worth moving to in my mind. Because Bangalore is a beautiful city, but as soon as I got here, the first time I was here, and the way I saw those auto drivers like sending it on the highway outside the airport, I was like, what the hell is wrong with everyone? It's like everyone's in such a hurry. Why, bro? And you don't understand, like a Bangalorean will come here, and we're used to auto drivers like wasting our time and wondering if we're on their itinerary going somewhere. But like here, you just get in and the dude goes, bro. It's shocking.
It's fast.
It's ridiculous.
Shit.
And I love that. Personally, I'm a fairly binary person. Like if I get into an auto or a cab, like I expect him to take me where I want to go. If I was a cab driver, trust me, I'm not being a hypocrite. I genuinely wouldn't have the energy to argue with the dude and figure out if he's going where I want to go.
Yeah.
If it's my job, I just take him there. So like this city, it makes sense to me in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
The service industry seems different here. People just seem like they understand their job a little bit better, and I love that. And also musically and like just network wise, it's been wild because it's just like one thing after another. It's just like you have a gig, there's a wild after party that goes on to like 5:30, no doubt any earlier, and it's like some old people shit. And it's like in Bangalore, bro, people are done by 1:30 too.
Yep.
On average. I've been to some wild ones in Bangalore. Shout out my crazy Bangalore party peeps because they're there.
Yep.
But
there's a bunch of them.
I've met so many people who are into what we do here, and I felt like for a long time that outside of Bangalore, this is the biggest crowd of people that understand what I'm trying to get at, and it's gratifying. It's a good feeling. So yeah, I don't know when, I don't know if, but I would love to.
Yeah.
It'd be a good vibe. Yeah.
You should. Yeah.
For sure.
I mean, I've been here for almost 3 years now, and
you've been loving it, right?
Everybody from Bangalore discovered yours. Best city in the country, hands down. Yeah. Look at that scandalous fucking look.
Damn, bro, how are you gonna do us like that?
Easy, man, easy.
I'm telling you.
It's fine. I like fast-paced shit. You know, work needs to be work. I'm not gonna wake up and like send one at like 10 in the morning. Nah, mate, that's just
not anymore, huh?
Not anymore. You see, sober thing, yeah.
Sober thing.
Yeah.
My man's got an app.
Oh, geez, yeah. Actually, wait, let's fucking move on to that.
Yeah.
So there's... State of mind and music is so interesting, right? All creativity stems from discomfort. The word discomfort has a negative connotation to it.
Not necessarily.
In a general sense.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
but it is positive
right,
and negative.
Yeah.
So with not only with this project, but with the stuff that you've done in the past, with the music that you've created, do you see a difference based on how you, like your highs and your lows? The kind of music you make. Is there a clear difference?
Bro, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. It's ridiculous, man. Like, I wrote Do I Look Tribal on Flash Warning when I was in a tough place, bro. Like, I remember producing that song and writing to it, and I felt like no one gave a shit about like my art, and I was in a tough place, like, and I wasn't getting encouragement from the people I thought I would. And it's not good to be entitled, but these were people very close to me whom I thought had a big stake in my life. And
you should have met me earlier.
Yeah, bro, facts, huh? And I'd known you then, but I wasn't here, obviously. But anyways, with Do I Look Tribal, I was in a really tough place, and I produced it over the course of a day. I produced the instrumental, like breaks in between. And whenever I felt like getting back to it, I would just sit down on Logic and finish the instrumental. I chopped up some Chet Baker, I believe, and built the instrumental around that, the percussion, the chords on the synth, the double bass, everything. And I built that, and I wrote to it, and I just let myself vent. I was like, I know these wins are gonna come to me, because like, fuck, if other people aren't gonna give me validation, I'll fucking give it to myself, you know?
Yeah.
Apologies for
Self-love,
the
baby.
expletives, kids, but like, yeah, for sure, bro. Like, honestly, like, that came out of straight discomfort. I was just like, I'm alone in this, bro. At the end of the day, you're alone in this. As much as people love you, there's gonna come a time where you're alone in like your room or your cabin with your instruments, and it's just fucking you. Like,
The master of your own universe, man. Yeah.
facts, and it comes down to perspective. So I was like, you know, I'm gonna make this song, and I'm gonna let myself open up, and that's what happened. But I was at a low point when I wrote Do I Look Tribal. I was in a tough place when I wrote Swishes as well.
Yeah.
Jail
You
of
can
Japan for sure. Yeah, you can tell. Like, I've been on prayers, like staring at skies. Like, I genuinely was. It's all fact. Like, I do pray, and I was like, give me peace, man. This shit is hard, because I was just in the midst of the turmoil, managing myself and everything last year, and I needed an outlet. But there's a clear difference in messaging between those songs and Teal Miata and Matt Loss, which I wrote on a massive high.
Yeah.
When we were building up to a music festival, the scene with my first label Rec, and that was like a whole group vibe. There was so much affirmation, and like there were so many people who were into what was happening, and like literally I came back from the studio with the demo recorded on Ray Stone's mic at his studio, brought the demo back, played it for everyone, and these people turned up, bro. They turned up when they heard Teal Miata. I was like, bro, I gotta keep doing this. I went back to the studio, and that energy just carried over, and I wrote Matt Loss in like an hour, and I recorded it in like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And it's ridiculous what that can do. So your highs and lows definitely affect your creative output and the way you see the world. And that's what comes through in the music for sure, the perspective. That's the biggest thing. And that's the USP of any artist, is perspective. But I think that there's art to be made at every point in the spectrum. You just have to keep going. You just have to keep showing up, whatever that might be. Studio, your desk with your laptop and your mic. You just have to keep showing up, because there's always something to say. So, yeah, not gonna spout too much advice, but that's my...
No, I mean, that's why we're here, right?
Yeah.
We want to know your perspective. We want to understand what you've gone through in order to get here.
For sure.
Yeah.
And there's stuff to be said at every point, yeah.
Yeah, and there's so much more to go.
Yeah.
It's an evolution.
Yeah, and I don't think people should see the creative journey as something that has to be lived out in this place of misery and sadness. It's not true. Just live your life and keep making art along the way, and then that journey and that reflection of your life is what people will eventually get into. That's the 1,000 true fans, bro. That's what they care about.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, for this next segment, I think it would be great for us to understand how you got into this music industry and how you know so many of the same people I do, and why we ended up talking for 5 hours like the first time we met effortlessly.
Yeah, man. So, I don't know, I guess my whole introduction to this stuff came about, I think, 3 years ago. So I was still in college in Paris, and I'd always keep tabs with like friends that were still in Bangalore. And I think around the second year of college, I started seeing a lot of people putting out music. And I don't know, I was a bit fascinated by it. I was like, you know, what kind of stuff is coming out from here? Because at that point, drill in the UK scene started blowing up. So I wanted to see what was happening here, if there was anything unique, if there was anything distant. And yeah, I don't know, I always consider myself to be I'm like a fly on the wall. Yeah, I'm a music buff, like shit. Like, I think I've been listening to everything since I was a kid. The Beatles, Dire Straits, Madonna, Beyonce, Jay-Z from like back in the day. And MF Doom randomly when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Mac Miller, but not like self-care Mac Miller, you know, like Blue Slide Park, shit like that from back in 2010. I think that's what really got me into music, and I was super curious as to what was coming out over here. A bunch of my friends from back in Bangalore started making music, and I was in touch with them and like listening to their stuff, giving them my opinion, because I don't know how, but somewhere down the line people started taking what I said, I wouldn't say seriously, but they would want my input on stuff.
And they'd pay attention.
And they'd pay attention to it. Because I think, I mean, I play multiple instruments as well. I've always been big into music.
You produce, yeah.
Yeah, I
I've heard some of that
produce.
stuff.
But I mean, it's like a pastime. It's a hobby, and I like keeping it that way because I don't have to release anything. So as we were speaking about earlier, authentic, and then the compromise of being an artist. So I mean, with the stuff I make by myself is just whatever. Then I moved back to Bombay. Sorry, I moved back to India, and I moved here. I think almost 2.5 years ago, and then COVID hit. It's a bit of my background. I'm a chef by trade, so I was still working within the F&B industry, and the place that I was working at was this private dining firm called Seva, and we shut during the pandemic. And I was out of a job for a bunch of months, and I got like a friend of mine hit me up, so Rohan, you know Rohan, right? From Wise, and Rohan from Wise.
Right,
He hit me up, and we actually go way back. We used to play tennis together when we were like 7, 8 years old and shit. And he just reconnected after like a decade, easy.
Crazy, yeah.
And I had no idea, but I had heard about Hanuman Kind a while ago. And he was like, yo, yeah, I manage him. So I was like, wait, what the fuck is going on? We started catching up, we started speaking, and then he kind of hit me up and he was like, look, we need some help. And I was out of a job, so I was like, fuck yeah, of course I'd help. Kind of got into the whole Wise ecosystem, and so I guess, touring was non-existent, and that's where most of the revenue comes from, right, for artists. So we basically wanted to find different ways to do it. So I guess I was part of the team that kind of started doing production gigs for companies.
Yeah.
So I guess that's my introduction into the scene. As for the people that we both mutually know, I think it's just being in Mumbai for like the last 2.5 years, going around, meeting a lot of people. And again, I think when I meet these guys, we start speaking and there's a lot of back and forth, but like valuable conversations.
Yeah.
So I think that's how I'm still around. I mean, I don't like putting myself out there at all. You've kind of roped me into this, which...
I know that.
Yeah, shit. But
my man's a back of scene kind of guy. Like you like making the executive decisions, doing the work, but not so much shoving yourself on screen and all,
absolutely.
all that stuff.
I'm not about that life. But
yeah.
I'm an observer for sure. I have my opinions on what's going on. I think I have a good ear for music, so I know what works and what doesn't.
And I agree. Yeah.
So yeah, I guess that's how and I plan to stay for a long time. I'm always going to be invested to some extent in the artists that I like. Biggest one right here. And I mean, I don't think I'll be in India for very long post this interview, but I'm always going to keep my ear on what's happening. And hopefully, like as you mentioned, I like doing shit on the back end. I would love to be a part of something that takes the kind of music we're doing now to a global stage.
Absolutely.
And I know
I can see that.
Yeah, and I know that there's going to be opportunities that come up where I can facilitate big things happening. So yeah, just a little bit about...
I see what you mean. Like even the first time we met, like I could very well see you as a prominent member of an 88 Rising type model here in India. Something that helps...
That's the dream.
Something that helps push these artists to the forefront. I think that you'd be really well placed there because you have the mind for it, for the executive decisions to figure out the direction to actually make it happen. While all these people focus on their art, right? Yeah, you can help figure out the route.
You need people who know business.
You can do the work. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying I'm a businessman or anything, but you need people who know how shit works on the back end. Because
absolutely,
how are you gonna blow up without having like your financials in place, right? Connects. You need people all across the globe really to get shit done, distribution, whatever.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
And you're well suited to all of that stuff. Let me tell you, huh?
Yeah, I guess so. And it's funny because like growing up, I'd always listened to music and I'd always appreciated it, but from a very young age, it's like I'm assuming everybody's watched the Defiant ones. I mean, at least the people that are that are listening to this, but I was paying attention to the Geffen and Interscope deal back when it was actually happening. And I had no fucking idea what these things were. It just seemed interesting to me because they were related to music.
Yeah.
And I mean, I wasn't born when the whole death row thing was going on, but just having a ear for these things from the past, the present, and the future where things are going to go, like Sophie and shit. I mean, she's no longer with us, but hyperpop, that's where it's at, like with the whole metaverse kind of shit. Music is going to change, and in a big fucking way. It's like the early 2000s, right? Apple Music destroyed the record industry, streaming came along, and now streaming is going to get fucked as well. So you need to figure out where the next step is and kind of plant your flags over there. So it's interesting to look at it,
For sure.
taking a step back, looking at what's happening and predicting what the next thing is. It's the same thing, like things that have gone down over the last couple of years with COVID. Back when the financial crisis hit in 2008, the housing market was fucked. Companies like Airbnb and Uber popped up because nobody wanted to own things. People wanted to rent things. It's more about convenience at that point. And now, everything is fucked again. So you really need to like take a step back, see what makes sense, and Web3 is where it's at. So
absolutely,
the way to, I don't know, you just need to have a good idea on how you can pivot the music business. Might not happen now, might not happen in the next 2 or 3 years, but
it's gonna happen.
It's gonna happen.
And you've had your ear to the ground for a while, and I know that after the discussions we've had, which is why it's ideal that you would help conceptualize what happens next, or even be a part of it, like figure out how to leverage it even.
Yeah, I would love, I mean, I do a lot of things, but I think my heart is in food and music, and I want to be in the music scene, not like as my main thing, but I would love to like say an executive at a label or something who knows what exactly to do. Because at the end of the day, I feel, I mean, I'm a creative at the end of the day. So I think I understand where people like you come from. So
there's a degree of understanding, because like when it comes down to it, cooking and producing, not that different.
It's art. It's all art. Yeah, for sure.
It comes down to you creating something and combining elements and understanding how much of what to put where and when and all of this shit. And
balance.
Yeah, balance. And that's what it comes down to. And like, I see that, bro. Yeah. Which is why I would personally enjoy it if I saw you back in a musical sort of, or just management role or an executive role in some sort of music related business. I think that'd be dope. Yeah.
Where it takes me.
For sure.
Just yeah, I mean, speaking about future projects and endeavors, what plans? What's next for Mr. Bedford?
It's a good question. There's a lot in the vault. There's a couple things in the pipeline. So I've been working on a bunch of demos, and there's a few that I believe in, and I'm picking from them for my future projects, singles, EPs, whatever it's going to be for the next few months. And I do have a strategy in mind, and I do have demos that are ready. I actually performed a couple of them for you.
Let me just tell you, what you're going to listen now, Flash Warning, is a step up from the stuff he's done before. The demos he showed me now, significant markup. Oh my God, it's insane. Like, it's crazy because it's weird, but to me it's like written in the stars when an artist naturally progresses project on project on project. And I think that's exactly what you're fucking doing right now.
Bro.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
Sure.
Yeah. You've seen a lot of it.
Yeah.
He's heard the demos, like the ones that are coming next, and it's
I was listening to this stuff before it even came out.
Yeah, way before. Ages.
Yeah.
And it's the same. It's going to take a minute for that to come out, but when it does, you'll know exactly what's going on.
Yeah.
And it's going to be sonically a slightly different direction to what's going on now. Yeah. But it feels like a progression, and I think you'd be able to agree with that.
100%. 100%.
Yeah.
100%.
So I'm excited for that. Yeah. It's going to be a bunch of demos, and I think this year I'm going to be going really hard. Last year, because I was working on this and because I was preoccupied and because I felt like...
you have more time now to really concentrate on the music. So
absolutely.
It's only natural that things only get better.
Absolutely. Yeah. And this year is going to be more of a consistent drive, you know, things are going to be dropping, and I'm going to be going hard as far as I can see. At the end of the day, with the creative journey, you can never fully predict with 100% accuracy, but I do feel like it's going to be a crazy year. So
nice.
I'm excited for that, bro.
Can't wait.
Yeah.
Can't wait for you to drop the next shit.
My man knows what's coming. Yes, I think I have like half a sip left, but...
I don't have anything left either, just downing these. Cheers, man.
Cheers, bro.
How do you want to end it?
We could end it with that little clink.
No, I don't know. We can just fuck around now.
Yeah, we could.
Red in my face, Lightning McQueen on the screen. I'm 95 and 97. Been watching the skies for stormy weather. She don't like me, looking for signs, light as a feather. Hype beasts never comply. Y'all think I'm Siamese? Not depending on what you say about me, die please. Cause I really don't give a fuck for how you like me. I gave too much of me away and I'm done.